I might have forgotten that.
You can kick my chair.
Well, welcome everybody to what is the third time the St. Thomas Kinsmen have hosted an all candidates meeting. I will be your MC tonight. My name is Matt Sharp. I'm past president of the club and currently serving as the deputy governor for the zone. I'm a lifelong resident of St. Thomas. I'm an insurance broker and the 12-year member of the St. Thomas Kinsmen. The Kinsmen are pleased to welcome you here. We started doing this event in 2014 as another way to serve our community and work with our city. We are a growing service club in St. Thomas with 15 active members, always looking for more. We've been serving our community's greatest need with pride in St. Thomas since 1944. We're 78 years young. We are part of a national nonprofit known as Kin Canada. And last year, even during COVID, Kin clubs across this country raised $25 million to donate back to their communities.
Way to go.
In St. Thomas, we are the club that brings you the Canada Day celebrations in Pinafore Park, along with the City of St. Thomas, and nowadays the Optimist as well. Over 40 years, we've been having our Easter egg hunt in Pinafore Park on Saturday morning of the Easter weekend. We have a steak and craft beer night here with the Knights of Columbus, and a fireworks sale for Victoria Day and Canada Day, and an electronics draw just before Christmas. The funds we raise go to supporting this community, and annually we sponsor a youth art program with the St. Thomas and Elgin Art Gallery. We make sure every child with Family and Children's Services receives a Christmas present. We sponsor a scholarship program with the STEAM Center and a number of youth sports teams. That sunshade of the elevated park, that was us. And just a few months ago, we made our largest donation in recent history with $50,000 to the YWCA for the Tiny Hope Project. I would like to thank you all for coming. St. Thomas supports its service clubs, and we are all working together to help serve our community. As a matter of housekeeping, here's how we will run things. Each councillor candidate, of which 8 will be elected, will receive 2 minutes to speak. At the end of the time frame, our timer will wave at you, and I will return to the front. You don't want to be up here if I get back up to the front. A random number generator was used to pick the order for tonight, and each speaker was given the opportunity to provide me with an introduction, which I've edited down for time. Surprisingly, I lengthened a few. Once the councillors have spoken, each mayoral candidate will be given 5 minutes to speak. We have the hall until 9 o'clock, so once all the speeches are done, we will return to a meet and greet format, so you can ask any questions you may have of any individual candidate. I encourage you all to stick around and ask those questions. The bar will reopen at that time. However, if something is needed between, the side from the lounge is accessible. We do have one candidate missing in action. Unfortunately, Ms. Dawn Docker reached out on the weekend to advise she's tested positive for COVID, so she's chosen to stay home. She has provided me with something to read, so when her number comes up, I will read what she sent. And then starting tonight off, we have Tara Mccauley. Tara has a long history of community building and economic development in St. Thomas. Her passion for the city has led to her recent leave of absence as the manager of business development and entrepreneurship at St. Thomas Economic Development Corporation, so that she can use her experience with all levels of government to advocate for the needs of our community. For the past 10 years, she's worked tirelessly alongside new and expanding businesses in St. Thomas and Elgin to help create a thriving place to live for all members of our community. She has worked on many committees in the community, and she's currently on leave as the chair of the St. Thomas and District Chamber of Commerce and the chair of the Youth Employment Counseling Center. This year, Tara's love for our city was recognized with the Queen's Jubilee Award for commitment to the community. Tara.
The only thing I was hoping tonight was that I was not the first one. I am going to dive in because I have written everything down for 2 minutes. St. Thomas has experienced a significant spike in housing costs, putting pressure on housing access and affordability, especially for low-income households or people living in poverty. In addition to provincial advocacy, other creative ideas at the municipal level should be explored. Granny flats and other second unit permissions are a way to increase supply, stabilize pricing, and help to meet the demands for more affordable rental units in our community. Zoning bylaws should be quickly updated to remove barriers, and identifying potential financial incentives should be a priority. An effective marketing campaign of the options should be created to spread the words to residents. The city has projected residential forecast of 50,600 people by 2041. Our growth is rapid and higher than the Ontario average. Do we have the infrastructure in place to support that growth? Are we able to provide local and regional transit so people can get around? What else are we missing to accommodate that kind of growth? Proactive, timely gathering of feedback and ideas from all residents will help to create a growing, thriving community. I've worked in the downtown core for 8 years. Like many communities, there are complex issues in our core. The decision to move the inn to Princess Ave and consolidate services was well-intentioned, but there have been negative impacts to the downtown core, residents, businesses, and people accessing the services at the inn. There are many organizations that are working incredibly hard, supporting our most vulnerable citizens, and a solution will not happen overnight. It will be critical and time-sensitive for the city to proactively collaborate with residents, people accessing the inn, businesses, and organizations to come up with effective solutions that meet the needs of all residents in our community. The city's strategic plan includes a proposed youth engagement plan to align services and programming. Mental health in our youth is in a critical state. I would like to see the strategy come to fruition and ensure it collaborates with all youth organizations who are doing great things in the city. We are becoming a city known for our passion and support for the arts and the significant economic impact it creates. The St. Thomas Elgin Public Arts Centre is a valued and respected public space that is a focal point for our community. Funding is precarious and quite low in comparison to other communities of our size. How can our city better support this community gem and others like it to ensure a flourishing future? Thank you.
So I think I forgot to mention, our timer will wave at the 20-second mark, so you'll have about 20 seconds to finish up.
Oh, good.
And kind of realized as I did that run that I can't come up and down the aisle, otherwise the people at home are just going to be watching me or my back. So I will come in from the side to hook you off. Our next speaker is Devin Church. Devin has lived and worked in St. Thomas for roughly 30 years. He is passionate and dedicated to helping others through his work, sport, and volunteering. He's accountable and committed and aims to propel council towards innovation and positive change. Devin?
I'll take this off so you can see my face. I'm not good at talking about myself, not at all. But I am good at advocating for other people. I'm not naive in thinking that I have the answers to the problems that our cities face, but I know how to find people that do. There are real problems in this community, but they are solvable. We have a lack of affordable housing and unequal access to healthcare. This has perpetuated the difficulties of the unhoused and the underhoused. And there has not been enough focus on the thousands of people who are days to weeks away from joining our neighbors on the streets. I would come to City Council with an awareness of my power and my privilege and would want to reshape our committees to include people with lived experience. I would promote clarity and transparency between the council and its citizens. I don't have an ulterior motive for running for council. I am here because I genuinely care about the people in this town. I will bring fresh ideas, new perspectives, and innovation to council. I live my life with integrity and accountability, and I will inspire council to do the same. The effects of this pandemic run deep, and there are so many of us who are looking for connection and community right now. We have the opportunity to create events and spaces for people of all ages and incomes. These last 2 years as a nurse have been my hardest, but they have also taught me just how important it is to stop talking and to start actively listening to what people need. That is what I'm going to do for you as your counselor. I will listen to you and I will work with you. Together we can find the solutions to the problems we're facing and create a St. Thomas that's more inclusive and accessible to all of its residents. Thank you for having me.
Next up, we have Joe. Joe has lived in St. Thomas for 16 years, and his family has lived here for 45. He is in a 3-generational home with his beautiful wife, her mom, and daughter, and 2 dogs and a cat. This is Joe's first time running for council, and he is ready to get involved. Joe.
He almost called you out. Good evening. First of all, thank you very much for being here. It's very important to have involvement from the community. The fact that we have 16 candidates for council with only 8 spots truly shows that the people that are up here also care about what they can do for you. So thank you very much for being here. As was said, this is my first time running for council. I'm currently employed as an insurance investigator and dealing with all types of insurance fraud. And I think my experience as an investigator gives me a little bit of a, for lack of a better term, a spidey sense as to what's going on behind the scenes. I find that there are a lot of people that are out there right now in the community that are posting nothing but negative things on social media. It really doesn't help anything. And what I'm noticing is I think there could be a lot more pushback by council to defend what their actions have been over the last 4 years. The council's done a great job. But I think there needs to be someone who will step forward and be the person who gets the answers for the constituents when they have questions that they want answers to. I like to be that person. I want to be the person that you can come to and say, I need to know something about this, or why can't we do this or that? I'd like to be able to go back to the council, find out the answer to the question, and then give it back to the people. It may not be the answer that you're looking for, but at least it's an answer, and now you know where you stand. So I'm hoping that with my experience dealing with St. Thomas Men's Slow Pitch as the president and dealing with communication with the city, Parks and Rec, I'm hoping that my experience there also opens the door for people to come to me, and I hope that I will be your choice as a councillor. Thank you very much.
No, I haven't. Yay. So 7 years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Earl Taylor when the Kinsmen began our steak and craft beer night partnership with the host. He and several of the nights handled the food service and cleanup here at the hall, but he also volunteered to be part of our craft beer sampling selection committee. After watching Joe do Mayor's update at Caps Off, Harold figures his skills in diplomacy he learned while working with us can only help him serve it well as a city councillor. Harold and his wife Cheryl are 35-year residents of the city. He is a retired Ontario public servant, Ministries of Natural Resources and the Ministry of the Environment, and he feels serving is in his nature. Harold?
Thank you very much to the Kinsmen for hosting this event. It's a privilege to be up here and speaking with you. I want to thank all the candidates that have stepped forward as well. As been mentioned already, it takes a lot to expose yourself to the community. I've been here for over 35 years with Cheryl. We have 2 grown children. I'm a retired public servant. That vocation has inured me into giving, and I continue to do that through my volunteer work through the Knights of Columbus. That's allowed me to encounter some of the marginalized in the community. It's a very humbling experience to go to the Grace Cafe and help out there, recognizing and reflecting on how blessed most of us are, and we have marginalized people in our community. We're called to remember that everyone was born perfect. Everyone deserves dignity, and oftentimes it's the greatest gift you can give to somebody. As a retired public servant with M&R and environment experience, I think I have some very good thoughts, practical thoughts about the climate change issue. That operates at the global level of scale. It's very difficult to see that operating at the municipality. I know that the city has declared a climate emergency, and I would be looking for some authentic action in response to that in how we continue to grow. It's been mentioned already. Our population has grown significantly in the past few years. I'm concerned about whether our servicing is keeping up with that. I spoke to a gentleman tonight that it says as they're experiencing low water pressure for the first time that he can ever remember. So I'm hoping as we grow, because we are a welcoming committee, we have a strong economy, but we have to be mindful that the infrastructure has to keep pace with, if not ahead of. The other thing I would want to mention is that social services, it's been mentioned, we need to develop a hub for the social services required for the marginalized. It's not located in the right place. I dropped by at the inn. They'll be the first to admit they don't belong there. That's not consistent with how downtown should be developed. It's a disruptive force, and we need to find a way to bring people together to consolidate, and especially our volunteer community. If I'm elected on city council, I'm going to make it my business to find ways for the city to facilitate coordination and synergies between all the volunteers that donate thousands of dollars in volunteer hours graciously, but they need some help to be more efficient. Thank you very much.
Two minutes goes by quickly. Our next candidate is Earl Taylor. Earl is a long-time resident of St. Thomas and very much known as Hey Earl. He's a real estate broker with Coldwell Banker and has never been one to shy away from getting involved in the community. He is current chair of the St. Thomas Downtown Development Board since 2012. He's past president of the London St. Thomas Association of Realtors and a recently retired board member of the St. Thomas Chamber of Commerce, a proud member of the St. Thomas Optimist Club. But we won't hold that against him.
Thank you very much. Yes, the Kinsmen and the Optimists, we really do work together well. But as Matt was just saying, you can understand that I never shy away from getting involved in my community. I'm seeking a position as a St. Thomas councillor so that I can get more involved in my community. I believe that if you want a better community, you need to step forward, lean in, work hard, and find a way to improve not only your community, but also improve the quality of life of your community. So how do we do this? There are a number of priorities on my website, voteearltaylor.ca, or in my pamphlet, my brochure. Please pick one up on the way out if you haven't got one already. That outlines some of my priorities, and they include things like fiscal responsibility. Are we spending our dollars the right way? Maybe we can give up the next roundabout in favor of better streets and roads and sidewalks, for example. Our healthcare, our industrial growth, and of course, communication. I think that we can probably improve the way that the city communicates to us, the taxpayers, and allow the taxpayers to communicate back to the city on the projects that are happening instead of them just surprise, here's something happening. But top of mind today, and you've heard it here before, is the sad state of affairs in our downtown. You've heard I'm the chair of the Downtown Development Board. I'm in communication with many of our downtown businesses and property owners, and we need a strong and vibrant downtown to have a successful city. That's key. So how do we do that? We need to find a way, and we've heard it before, to solve the homelessness, the mental health challenges, the drug addiction, and the crime that is happening in our downtown, so that our downtown businesses and our property owners have a chance for success and growth. But some of these improvements involve change, and on October the 24th, you have an opportunity to make a change. So I humbly ask for your vote, Earl Taylor, on October the 24th, so that I can become your new voice as city councillor. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next up is Rose Gibson. I first met Rose in 2003 when we were both running for city council. She's run in every election since, and I do believe a few before. She is heavily involved in our local legion, enjoys supporting her community, and can be found at most town events. In the past, she has focused her campaign on transportation improvements, affordable housing, and keeping property taxes affordable. All good things. Rose, the floor is yours.
Can you see me over the?
You need a booster.
Thank you, Matt. And I would like to thank the Kinsmen Club and the Columbus Club for hosting tonight's venue. Each year, the past 3 times I've been up here, I've enjoyed each time. And I appreciate everyone coming out. Being proactive when it comes to our elections at any level is good. It brings democracy to our community, and we should be glad we can have that. I have lived most of my adult life here in St. Thomas. I'm married. I have 3 boys. My husband and I actually have 2 separate families that come together, and 2 of our boys live here in town, and 1 lives out of town. I have been 30 years in customer service in this community, where I've gained confidence working in with public skills and being able to resolve any situation given to me at hand. As you know, customers, you need to find a way to make it work at the counter. Adding to my experience is 34 years as a hands-on volunteer, and I was chairperson for special events for United Way starting 1993.
She was 4.
Joe's only saying that because he worked with me for 12 years. So from there, I moved on. I felt I could do more. I wanted to do more. And I filled out other interests that I had in the community. And I embraced positions as from being a hands-on person to a leadership skills as a chairperson, a board member, and then became a president. I know with my dedication and knowledge of the community, with my leadership skills, I can and willing to do the work for you. I hope to be standing hoping to be sitting at council for you, as a viable community is important, and I feel that we could do that by working together, even if it means working with our municipalities around us as well. So seeing the many challenges in the next 4 years, and as our community grows, we need to ensure budget planning is facilitated, our services and facilities and ongoing infrastructures and the adding of new services and green space meet and reflect the taxes that we bring in. I hope you will consider voting for me, Rose Gibson, on Monday, October 24th. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Next up, we have Timothy Hedden. He's a business owner, a handyman, actor, tax professional, and husband. He's passionate about addressing the issues that affect our most vulnerable citizens, and he's running in an effort to be part of the team that ends chronic homelessness in our city. He also comments just as much as I do on Mayor's update.
You know, it's weird as an actor. I get nervous before I do this every time because there's so much at stake. So I'm just going to jump into it. I think one of the biggest issues facing us right now is, in fact, still housing. The last council did a great job on starting some projects for supportive housing, which have had a massive impact on the individuals that were housed there. So give yourselves a hand later after I'm done talking. The other issue, though, we have, though, is we haven't had a serious geared to income development in a long time. There's a very long wait list to get on that, and it's stagnating. And when you tie that into the fact that affordable housing, which is considered 75% of whatever the market rate is, isn't affordable, the whole market seems to be stagnating on the bottom end. So I would like to be part of a team that, while we develop the supportive housing units we need, we also pursue new funding for a geared to income housing project that meets the needs of the city. I think if we address some of these housing issues, some of the issues in the downtown will take care, I won't say they'll take care of themselves, but it'll go a long way to helping. When people have a roof over their head, suddenly they can do things like get assistance for their drug addiction. They can find their way to reconnect to the community, and that's a huge thing. It's very important that when we're dealing with this issue, we lead from a place of kindness and support. Punitive measures have not historically worked. I believe the war on drugs, which is an American concept, is about 35 years old now, and how is that going? Yeah, that's what I thought. The second thing that I think is super important is how we interact with our nonprofit sector. Am I really there already? Wow. Okay, I'll speed up. We have to have a conversation with our nonprofits in the town because they do so much of the work. Things like the elevated park, which has been built almost entirely off donations. Perhaps there's something we can do in a sense to help with that. Now I'm rushing. Property taxes. We've got record inflation right now, and it's up to the next council on how they're going to deal with that. And oftentimes the first thing that gets cut is funding for the arts and programs like that. So I would be a strong supporter of trying to maintain and increase arts funding if possible. And for the rest of my speech, since I'm about to get played off, come talk to me.
How was that possible? Why did you stand me up? He's the guy climbing it. I'm sorry. It's been the same watch for everybody.
Can I have 3 minutes?
Our next candidate is probably known to everybody in the room, Steve Peters. I met Steve over 27 years ago at my first job, and this man's jumbo-shaped heart has always had St. Thomas in the center. That's my line. Steve was born here, and he lived downtown for the past 30 years. He's an avid local historian, gardener, and food bank volunteer. He's been a councillor for the past 4 years, the MC of the Queso Dancing with the Stars fundraiser, former mayor, MPP, minister, and speaker of the Ontario legislature. Steve Peters.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks to the Kinsmen. Thanks to the Columbus Club. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and to the viewers at home as well, too. When I was first elected to City Council in 1988, the population of St. Thomas was approximately 28,000 people. Today, that population stands at 41,000. So we have grown, but growth also brings its challenges. But first and foremost for me is the importance to respect your tax dollar, and that we are accountable to ensure that we get the best value for your money that you share with us. But we also need to make sure that we advocate to the federal and provincial government, because the federal and provincial governments are constantly mandating new programs to us and making challenges for us as a council, because these are programs that we have not historically been involved in, and we need to start to push back and just say no. As we move forward, though, we have to make sure we have unwavering support for our police, fire, and our EMS. They're critical day in and day out. We also, though, need to be good neighbors and work with our neighbors in our surrounding municipalities of Central Elgin and Elgin County. We need to work together to grow, to prosper, but more importantly, we need to end duplication of services. We need a livable, accessible community that includes trails, parks, the arts, and a future aquatic center. We need an inclusive core downtown plan, a plan that brings people together to develop a plan that meets the needs of all. We need, of course, to continually to invest in infrastructure, because if we are going to grow, we need to ensure that you can flush a toilet and have water and have electricity, etc. We also need to put pressure on our school boards. As our city grows, the school boards have not done a very good job at keeping up. It's irresponsible to see the number of portables that are out there. We need to have a caring community and a place to live. And most importantly, we need to do everything that we can to protect the environment. And I have a real strong focus on helping and seeing that we start to plant trees. If you have any questions, I look forward to speaking with you later. If you'd like a lawn sign, please let us know. Thanks very much for your interest in democracy.
Thank you very much, Steve. And so since we're on the Steve train, we'll stay there. Current City Councillor Steve Wookie was born and raised in St. Thomas, attended Elgin Court, Homedale, CECI, and then Western, where he received a degree in history with a minor in economics, including urban economics and cost-benefit analysis. His father, Harold, was a police officer, and his mom, Barb, was an admitting clerk at the Elgin General Hospital. Steve has taught for over 30 years, teaching economics, law, civics, and history. He is thankful for the support of his wife and his children. He loves all sports, especially basketball and golf, and loves landscaping and gardening. Steve's core belief is service above self.
Good evening. Thank you very much for coming. Again, thanks for the folks at home for watching this. I thought tonight in 2 minutes, I can't break down all the things that I want to do. So I want to share with you, the people who don't know me that well, what I believe in. And I hope that resonates with you. And here we go. Service above self. If you want to serve the public, you need to be able to tune out the loud voices and the voices closest to you sometimes to do what's right for the entire community. And I operated on that premise both as a teacher and as a city councillor. So service above self is what's at the top of my mind. Next. I believe that disagreement between people and groups is what starts a conversation. It's not what ends it. And sadly, sometimes that's what ends it. I have a great deal of interest in talking to people, learning, listening, and I'm willing to change my mind in the face of new evidence. I think that's my responsibility as a city councillor, is to always look for new evidence and change my mind when that occurs. To be closed-minded is to close off advancement for the city. I believe I am a voice of reason when it comes to balancing the wants and needs of our citizens with a prudent financial budget. You get that when you study history and economics and teach that for 30 years, the concern for both things. And I think I provide that. I believe that every single person is capable of growth and change, every single person. And it's our job as a municipality to make sure that we are dealing with the infrastructure and the programs in our lane, as Steve said, federal government, provincial government, nonprofits. We are the municipal government in our lane to make that possible. And I'm passionate about that everybody has a chance to grow and change. As far as issues go, I have done a bunch of short videos on Instagram and Facebook, and you can find me there. You can stick around and find me afterwards. And I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight because, frankly, you're more important in democracy than we are. Thank you. Have a good night.
So at this time, the random number generator tells me I'm Dawn. So I will now read what Dawn Docker has sent. She is seeking position on City Council, and St. Thomas has served her well. It's her turn to give back. She is no stranger to City Hall. St. Thomas's strengths lay within the citizens and business owners. Geographically, it's in a unique position to serve and attract the manufacturing industry. Our collective goal should be to sustain and provide a safe and dignified place to work, live, and grow. Work in constant communication between all three levels of government and across the region must be the focus as we enter a new term of council. She wants to be your voice of council, support smart growth and positive changes for St. Thomas. She wants to preserve our past and embrace our diversity going forward. She wants to have a city that we can all be proud of. Please feel free to contact Dawn and share your ideas. She has provided my contact information to me, and her door hangers are on the table at the door. She looks forward to meeting us all in the future. And next, I will bring up Sean Denier. Sean was raised here as a graduate of CECI and a business owner of two art galleries, one on Talbot Street here in St. Thomas and the other one in Wakefield, Quebec. His passion is hockey, which he's played many years in St. Thomas. He is committed to keep our city safe, clean, secure, and livable without fear. Sean?
Well, for people that don't know me, I'm the guy that wore the Hawks cap all the time, but I thought it wouldn't be appropriate to do tonight. I'm going to keep it short and simple, to the point, because that's the type of person I am. I'm not long-winded. It's kind of hard to follow Steve. He's quite seasoned. Born and raised in St. Thomas, like you were just advised. Educated in visual arts and business management. Over 20 years of business ownership in Canada and the United States. Past Lions Club member. My strengths are integrity, accountability, communication, loyalty, and proactive thinking. I really narrowed this down into 2 minutes. So, St. Thomas's strength is people. Whether you're conservative, liberal, north end, south end, east or west, it doesn't matter. We're all in this together. I've been almost to 4,000 homes in the last 2.5 weeks. Talking to some people in person as well as on the phone, but mostly listening to them because I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Please pick up my brochure at the front door there. If you have any questions, I have my information there. You can call me, text me, email me. I'm looking forward to representing you the next 4 years. Thank you.
Ironically, someone runs short, and now I'm going to bring up Jim. Jim was born and raised in St. Thomas and has been married to Rita for 25 years. They are proud parents of 6 children and have 11 grandchildren. Before retirement, Jim was the manager of the medical imaging department in both St. Thomas and Strathroy and was responsible for multi-million-dollar budgets, giving him a strong background in finance. Jim's involvement in the community stretches from past president of the YMCA and St. Thomas Curling Club, past chair of St. Thomas Energy and AGI boards, now called Integris, and served on an advisory board for the radiology program at Fanshawe College in London. In his spare time, you can find Jim either refereeing basketball at both the elementary and high school level or umpiring basketball. Jim's other volunteer interests is with Special Olympics baseball and basketball. Jim. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Great to see a good turnout tonight, so thank you very much. I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to be re-elected to serve a second term on City Council. I've been pretty busy the last 4 years. I'm currently serving on 5 different boards. I'm on the Police Services Board, Kettle Creek Conservation Authority, Public Art Gallery, Community Improvement, and Environmental. I think the priorities for council, in my mind, are, of course, keep our taxes low, infrastructure, roads and sewers, housing. We need housing. We need affordable housing, and you have to work with the developer to get affordable housing, and emergency shelters for the homeless. And we're very fortunate to have partnered with Indwell. You know, it's above the bus stop. There's 17 there, and we've got 45 coming on Queen Street, all for the homeless. And we need a strategic plan for marginal individuals. And downtown issues that are occurring at the inn, and transit. We need to look at transit because our city is really growing. I want to note too that the hospice has been approved. The MRI is coming, according to Tanya Sheldon, next fall. I campaigned for that for 4 years, and the new animal shelter. So to understand the downtown issues, I participated in 2 ride-alongs with the police, a day shift and a night shift. I walked Talbot Street with Catherine for 8 hours, met some of the merchants, and I did a day with the fire department. Quite an adventure, I'll tell you, for the stuff that they have to go through. So I know the police are frustrated, council's frustrated, we're all frustrated, the merchants with the downtown core that's happening at the end. So I'm going to suggest 2 things. I think maybe it's time for council to relocate the current inn out of the downtown core. And I'm suggesting we don't do anything for the people on drugs, a safe injection site, okay, or supervised consumption facilities dependent on drugs. I talked with Josh Morgan in London, and he said it works. I like public forums. I think it's a great opportunity to find out just what the public would like when it comes to housing, even though I know we need more housing. I didn't support development for Shaw, Walnut, or Walnut Street development, or Edward Drive. In closing, I want to thank Mark Burgess, who came on for 10 months, Joan Limo, who spent 8 years of her life trying to make St. Thomas a better place to live. Unfortunately, Mark Tinlin, who sat beside me in council, he passed away. He was a good guy to talk to. And Linda Stevenson, who passed away my first year in council, was a mentor to me. If I had a question, Linda helped me out big time. When you're on council for the first year, you're always asking questions. So anyway, so thank you. I appreciate your vote on the 24th. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
When I first met Patricia Hontar last election, I knew nothing of her. But after meeting, I ran into her everywhere. Moving to St. Thomas 11 years ago to accept the role of coordinator for the local immigration partnership, she dove into the community, and her lifelong resident co-workers would ask her what's going on, as she would always know. She's been involved with Iron Horse, Fresh Fest, the Elgin Business Women's Network. She's been a researcher for the Living Wage, and recently she pulled her network together, which now includes the Kinsmen, for the Ukraine fundraiser at the Queso station. She's also involved with Relish Local. And Patricia, welcome home. You're up.
Just so that when you see my signs, you know who it's about. So thank you for having me. Thank you for coming. When I was thinking about what to speak today, which actually I started thinking about an hour ago, one thing that I wanted to talk about is a sense of belonging in a community. When I came to St. Thomas, as Matt mentioned, I dove right in and I found my belonging in this community, but there's many people who feel like they don't belong in this community. And we need to find a way as City Council, how that can be our core focus as we plan, as we work together. And how can this be done? So one thing that we need to look at is, and when we're making our decisions in council, are we thinking of the perspectives of all the stakeholders and all the people that are involved in that decision? Oftentimes we hear a perspective from one group and we make a decision. That needs to change. Our decisions impact way more people than just the one party that's involved. We also need to ensure that people have a voice. Over COVID, there was no way for community to present to council, and we need to not ensure that this does not ever happen again so that we can be connected and in touch with our community. We need to find ways that we can support community engagement. We have a lot of great events that happen here, but a lot of people who want to do things in our community come up to roadblocks and then things get canceled. We see discouragement from our community members who are excited for Poutine Fest or whatever it is. And City Council needs to find a way to encourage that to happen, get out of the way, and make it so that our rules and policies are manifesting this change. We also need to step back sometimes. We have a lot of incredible murals in this community, but I love Jumbo, I love the train, but I think we need some art for the sake of art. We need to look at our communities. Are we planning for green spaces? Are we creating communities in these newer subdivisions that are popping up? Do people have a place to meet? Do they have a place to be with their neighbors, or are they stuck in their homes? And finally, we need to look at ways that we can evaluate our spaces and our services for access. Does everyone have the ability to go skating in our community? Can they afford skates? If they don't, where do they go? They can't use those spaces. Do we have places for people who aren't into athletics to find their place in the community? Do we have housing for people along different scales? And finally, is our voting system allowing for people to vote? Without the word system, we are losing the voice of some of our communities, and we need to find a way to make sure that they have a voice at the council. Thank you.
You guys don't want
Our next councillor is Lori Baldwin Sands. Lori is a lifelong resident of St. Thomas with deep family roots in the community. She has owned and operated a number of successful businesses and is a current council member, serving from 2006 to 14 and again from 2018 to 2022. She strives to build our local economy, and she is aware of the need to invest in our residents, programs, and infrastructure. Lori, come on up. I realize I have to do this.
Thank you to Matt. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you to the hosts of tonight. And I thank you to those that are in attendance and those that are watching from home. Inflation and the cost of living are top of mind. I have a strong respect for smart, targeted spending. That is always my top of mind. I will not shy away from independent thought or action, and not afraid to stand alone for what matters most to the people of this community. My top priorities include doctor recruitment. The Joint City-County Committee that I have chaired for the last 4 years has done some great work in recruiting family doctors to this area. I want to continue this work due to the population growth the city has experienced and the number of doctors that are retiring. We all have a part to play in the area of climate change. The city focus on taking better care of our drinking water and wastewater systems, our recycling programs, electrification of vehicles when possible, attention to keeping our parks beautiful, our access to trails throughout the city are all issues we take pride and effort to support. These are also areas of equality and equity for our community members. I strongly believe in healthy, active, sustainable community initiatives, and therefore would like to continue as the lead on bringing a new community aquatic facility to this community. It's also on the wish list for recruitment of doctors. I will always support the city creating an environment that helps bring jobs to this city, and I help to keep our young people here. My phone number is public. My email is public. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. On October 24th, vote Lori Baldwin Sands for St. Thomas City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Our next candidate is Gary Clark, a sitting councillor. Gary was born and raised in St. Thomas. He's married to the former Elaine Barnier, sorry. I should have checked that earlier, sorry. And has 3 adult children and 5 grandchildren. He is a retired teacher, principal, and superintendent. Gary has volunteered with United Way, St. Anne's Festival, Knights of Columbus, Optimus, and Sports Spectacular. He is currently finishing his 2nd term on council.
I guess I'd like to start by letting Joe know that the new golf clubs really were in the car when they got broken into. Thanks for organizing this evening, and thank you for joining us. For me, I've got 3 or 4 priorities that I'd like to continue on and serve a 3rd term on council. As we've heard before, a number of speakers have mentioned taxes and inflation. And so I think for me, that's one of the top priorities, especially early on in the first couple budgets that we set in the new term. Inflation is at an all-time high, and it's taking a real chunk out of people's disposable income. So I think we really have to be mindful when we set budgets that people's ability to pay is not going to be impacted. So for us, that means taking a look at what services are needed in the short term and the long term, and doing the best of trying to balance the 2 worlds. The important thing to keep in mind as taxpayers that all the taxes that you pay and fees and licensing and everything else, a city only gets 10 cents on every dollar. And so we rely on a lot of money coming from the federal government and the provincial government. And so that really needs to change the way they deliver dollars to us. It's hard for a city to do long-term planning when you're always looking for grants, and when grants are not, it's hard to do stabilized projects when you need money for 5 years and government's giving it to you a year at a time. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that we need an addiction treatment center in St. Thomas. We have a lot of folks that need help, and they can't be on a waiting list, and they can't be going over to London. They need help here. Thirdly, we need to get the hospice built. We've donated the land, the plans are in place, and so we need to be good partners with the county and get that done this term as well. Affordable housing, you've heard a lot about that. We've got a plan, we're working toward it, along with economic development. We need good jobs. We can't be just a bedroom community. That tax rate is important, and the industrial and commercial dollars are really what helps the city sustain itself. And then lastly, we need a climate change and green energy plan, a master plan, so that we're cutting down on the amount of energy that we're using, looking for new ways to add to the plan, renewable energy, taking a look at what assets that we have and how can we reduce the energy being used. Thanks, Matt.
And after looking at everybody behind me here, I realize we are at our last candidate for mayor. We haven't even started the mayor one. Last candidate for council. Jeff was born in 1967. He is a lifelong resident of St. Thomas, and he has worked in the manufacturing industry for over 35 years. He currently holds the position of stamping manager. He is also a certified mortgage agent, and his wife, Jennifer, they have 2 amazing children, Amanda, who is a doctor, and Adam, an HVAC technician. They also have 3 beautiful granddaughters. They have always encouraged the children to live a life of service, and together they have organized the Kohler Classic Golf Tournament and donated over $100,000 to community charities. They continue to give back to the establishment of the Kohler Fund, held with the Elgin St. Thomas Community Foundation. Jeff entered politics in 2000, and in 2003 launched a successful bid for mayor. Jeff is currently a member of council and looks forward to building on the momentum created by the current council if re-elected. Jeff.
I too would like to thank the Kinsmen, the Knights of Columbus, and Established Media for hosting this tonight, and of course all of you for coming out to hear what your candidates have to share. During my time on council, I have proven to be a fighter for improved quality of life, job growth, debt reduction, and low taxes. Over the last 4 years, our mayor and council have worked hard to improve or maintain the standard of living in all of these categories during an unprecedented time. We have been one of 8 communities, as reported, to reduce our homelessness by 25% by participating in the provision of a 24/7 year-round shelter, building more affordable housing, and forming partnerships with organizations that provide support to help our most vulnerable. With the support of the community, we will continue to reduce this population by providing them with the required housing and services they need. We have also improved our transit by expanding hours and making it available 7 days a week, and adding an additional bus to reduce wait times. We have reduced our infrastructure deficit by sticking to our asset management plan. We have managed to do all of this while keeping our taxes and utilities competitive, allowing for increased employment for our citizens. As your councillor, I will continue to work hard to improve our quality of life by promoting proper end-of-life care, low competitive taxes. I will also continue to support the hard work of our past council to ensure we have adequate employment and residential lands within our boundaries for many generations to come. The ability to grow and attract new jobs will give us the tools to enhance our quality of life while providing the tax base to keep our residential taxes affordable for everyone. I will continue to support and encourage council to adhere to our asset management plan for the safety and longevity of our citizens and assets that we have become accustomed to enjoy. Building on this momentum will keep St. Thomas highly ranked as a place you want to live, work, and play. On October 24th, help keep the momentum going and elect Jeff Kohler. Thank you.
Perfect. So thank you to all the councillor candidates. We do appreciate you all coming out tonight and giving us your time to give back to the community. And it is always informative. I'd like to take a moment to thank Roy and Jerry from the Columbus Club, who've spent their time here tonight setting up the hall and will continue to serve you refreshments as the night goes on. I'd also like to thank Graydon Lang from Established Media, as he has kindly come out and is broadcasting this for us tonight. And I do believe it will be available for later viewing right up until the election. He's nodding his head, so yes. We'll now move into our mayoral candidates. And with no specific order, we're going to start off with Greg Mccarter. Greg is someone who is inclined to speak out about the problems we are facing in society. He plans to use the office of mayor to advocate on behalf of the less fortunate everywhere, including the working poor, low-income seniors, and the disabled population. Greg.
Thanks for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. I'd like to start by thanking the Kinsmen for hosting this event and for the kind introduction. I'm here today because I have a vision. I hope to share with you all today some of this vision. I have been very concerned as of late because of what I see happening in our community. I'm here running for mayor and asking the right questions, and I need to seek answers. I offer my service to our community while I try and make sense of the issues we are currently facing. I have a vision of a community that doesn't leave anyone behind. Here in St. Thomas, we build housing for the working poor, low-income seniors, and disabled populations. As a community, we ensure everyone has an affordable place to live that allows for a high quality of life. St. Thomas is not good on housing. Currently, our community completely neglects the housing needs of single people and is focused on building high-end, high-priced units that only couples can afford. Some people are working full-time jobs and expected to pay 60% or more of their income towards rental costs. Seniors who lived, raised a family, worked, and paid taxes in this community their whole life are calling me on the phone and telling me they have to live on the outskirts of town because they cannot afford the rent as a low-income senior. The disabled people on the Ontario Disability Support Program are given less than $600 a month to cover rental costs. With the recent cost of living increases, it has become impossible to get by. People who have been deemed unable to work by a licensed physician in our community are not being provided places to live. This creates a constant supply of people experiencing homelessness. To address mental health and addiction issues, the best approach is to provide housing first, then move forward with treatment. I have a vision of a community that agrees our greatest need is ensuring people have a high quality of life, a standard of living that is acceptable to all. I propose the St. Thomas Wellness Center be built, a building that provides housing for people on disability and low-income seniors with prices that are based on what they can actually afford. A space can be provided for organizations in town looking to serve our least fortunate. Bringing all these organizations under one roof will provide a convenient location away from the downtown core to serve the community. The city will incentivize the use of this building by providing low rents to any organizations that wish to use it. We will come together to serve those who have the greatest need. I believe we can do better coordinating our efforts to tackle this problem. I have a vision. Young families are choosing to live in St. Thomas because we have been successful in dealing with our homeless. This has reduced the crime rate across the city. We have become the best place to live and raise a family in the entire nation. Investing in the future is how I plan on going about doing things as mayor. Children raised in a community tend to stay in or near that community for life. I have a vision. Having successfully dealt with our community's greatest needs, we have become a very attractive place for large corporations to do business. This will help a lot when trying to advocate on behalf of our community. We can stand out from the rest by finding unique solutions to our problems. Preparing this community for the transition to electric vehicles and promoting personal sustainable energy generation will go a long way to showing our dedication toward the future. A creative approach for bringing more businesses into St. Thomas will be used. Using social media, you can directly interact with some of the largest corporations in the world. These are just a few of the visions I have for the future of our community. I will use the office of mayor to push for changes. My lived experience gives me a unique perspective on the issues of the day. I will be working closely with the province and using any influence given to advocate on behalf of the least fortunate in our society. These people need a voice, and I gladly accept that role. I will not be ignored. The iniquity we are facing is an injustice, and I will not stand idly by and accept the status quo. We will find a better way, starting right here at City Hall. Please allow me this opportunity to serve. Thank you for your consideration.
So I'm going to take a second and do some more thanks because I realize if I don't, we might not have audio much longer. I completely forgot to thank Sean, who is Magic Light and Sound. He's also one of our kinsmen. He's brought the speakers and the microphone and is making sure you can all hear us clearly tonight. And he didn't poke me to say that either. So. Our next candidate is Joe Preston. I first met Joe in 2003 when he was the MC for a Meet the Candidates night. Last election, I introduced Joe by asking you all, who is this Joe guy? He called himself a job creator, a business owner, 32 years of providing employment at Wendy's, a community activist and volunteer, supporter and sponsor of many community groups and projects, a longtime cheerleader of St. Thomas, a parliamentarian for 11 and a half years, serving the people of St. Thomas and delivering federal investment into our area. He can now add 4 years of being our mayor to that list, along with hosting a weekly online show called Mayor's Update. Joe, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Matt. Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you to the Kinsmen for tonight. But thank you all for being here, and for those at home. Politics really works when we listen to each other, so it's great to start with that. I want to thank St. Thomas. This 4 years has been an incredible ride for me as mayor. I thank you all for what you've allowed me to be and to do. This was 4 years of where 2 years in the middle of it, we were in a declared emergency the whole time. And as the mayor, the leading part of that emergency and declaration. And so it caused us to do things civically, St. Thomas-wise, in a completely different way. Some good, some bad, but one of the things that we created was Mayor's Update. Well, during COVID, we, with the thanks of Graydon, we did daily Mayor's Updates and weekly open forums. We have continued now almost 4 years now of open forums for everyone in town can ask any question Wednesday. I'll answer them if I know the answer. If I don't, we certainly get back the next week to it. So for those saying that we need a vehicle to communicate with the folks of St. Thomas. We have one. Let's use it. Let's everybody think forward that that's the best way. Each week, put yourself out there as a candidate, as a mayor, as a member of council, and say, here's what we stand for and here's what we do. So thank you for that. Growth in St. Thomas, now at about 45,000. If we count the last census, we are gaining at about 1,000 people a year. St. Thomas continues to grow. I've been asked by a number of people, I remember it being like only 20,000. I know Steve said that as part of his speech too. Yes, but people want to come here. Are we to send them away? No, we're not. We're to embrace them and say St. Thomas can grow, and St. Thomas can grow smartly. This council's done an incredible job of trying to smart growth, to grow the community in at least 3 big ways. One is that we promise, as part of this council and part of the next council, that we will continue to grow the housing supply in our community. I promise 500 housing units a year. If we're attracting 1,000 people, a minimum of 5,000 housing or 500 housing units a year satisfies that need and allows us to gain a surplus in housing. If we do that, we have fantastic home builders. They're doing a great job. We finally have attracted in this last 3 or 4 year period builders of market rent apartment buildings. We're starting to see apartment buildings come to St. Thomas as another thing to do. I'll tell you, I'm one of those people. Stephanie and I moved into Elma Estates out of a 4-bedroom house. Somebody else got to move into that rental 4-bedroom house at a cheaper rate, and that's what building market rent apartments will also do for us. We have set records in the last, and through COVID, in the last 3 years on building in our community, certainly building permits, the cost of the buildings we're doing. At over $100 million a year in 2019, over $100 million a year in 2020, over $100 million a year in 2021. We expect 2022 will be in that same category. We must, if we're going to grow at 1,000 people a year, keep that same growth going. We have to. That's the housing side. We have to do it. Along with what I've already mentioned, the standard, our builders for homes, our builders for market rent apartments, we have also added to the ammunition we can use the accessory units in houses that are already built in all of our other neighborhoods. You can now, with building permits and work through our planning department, add an apartment in your basement, add an apartment in your garage, or a granny flat in your yard. We need to get the word out that that's available, that you can do this. It's the greatest way to get the affordability in apartments. It's also a great way to keep seniors in their home because somebody is now there living in the building with them. We can't stop. We have to carry on with that level of growth. With that level of growth in those types of housings, we've added the supportive housing and the shelter housing that is needed in this community, and it's part of what we need to continue to do. The answer to homelessness is housing. The answer to homelessness isn't finding good shelter or finding other things to do. Look, I could talk all day about a number of other things. I'm proud of what this council's been able to do for the last 4 years. I'm certainly proud of what we still have left to finish in our plan, and the promise we're making to you is we will finish it. St. Thomas will grow smartly, and St. Thomas will grow successfully. That, of course, needs a bunch of other things like jobs and the assets. And we talked about what we've done on our capital budget, what we can do for roads, bridges, parks, trails. This council was smart enough to add $500,000 a year to the spending to build those assets up so that we can keep going and use growth to pay for growth. I thank you all. Please vote for Joe Preston for mayor, October 24th.
Our last speaker tonight will be Heather Jackson. I've known Heather since high school, but I won't tell you how long ago that was. She was even at my wedding, so I do call her a friend. She served on council from 2003 to 2018, serving as mayor from 2010 to 2018. She's a lifelong resident of St. Thomas, and her work life is in the nonprofit sector. Her passion for our community is not a secret, and she knows that together we can deliver an enviable quality of life for all our residents. Ms. Jackson, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you for not mentioning how long ago high school was. I appreciate that. Thank you to the Kinsmen Club for organizing tonight's event, to the Knights of Columbus folks who are here, to Established Media, and to Sean. Thank you, Sean. He's a great DJ. If you need him for an event, he's the guy you need. 19 years ago, my first niece, Meredith, was one of the reasons that I entered the municipal election in the city of St. Thomas, where I won one of 7 seats as an alderman. That was before we changed it to councillor. Meredith has been active on every one of my campaigns, from just a baby in the stroller in 2003 to door knocking and brochure distribution. And I got involved in municipal politics because I wanted to ensure that she had a thriving community where she would be safe at home, at school, at work, walking our streets and trails, or in our neighborhood parks, and to be able to keep those spaces safe, beautiful, and active for play, an economy bustling to benefit her livelihood, a city growing in fiscal strength and fairness, and the inspiration of the arts accessible to all, and lovely and positive civic spaces. 19 years later, my reasons to re-enter politics remain steadfast. And now that one niece has grown to 10 nieces and nephews, and I often wonder if they will be able to stay in St. Thomas after their education is complete. Will they put down their roots here and start the next generation of our family? Or will they need to find another community where they can work, live, and raise a family? I am concerned that many are being forced out of our community because they cannot secure housing that is affordable or safe. According to CMHC's rental market report that was released in February of this year, the current availability rate for housing in St. Thomas sits at 1.2%, and I think it's even less now. That was in February. And the average cost of all rental unit types has increased by over 3%. This means affordable housing is very difficult to find. And without a stable home, it's difficult to keep a job or go to school, to deal with mental health issues and addictions, to raise a family, or feel like you belong in our community. I have toured the safe injection site in London, and I can tell you that that is what we need here at St. Thomas, Elgin County. We need to work with our friends at the county level to make that a priority and to make it happen, and to make sure that the province and the federal government are at the table and helping us with this. This is how we help people. Along with housing, we need to find supports for them as well. The number of youth experiencing homelessness in our community is growing, and they're younger than ever. Across Canada, 20% of people experiencing homelessness are between the ages of 13 to 25, and that's very reflected in our community. Our downtown is at a tipping point as we struggle to deal with how to support our most vulnerable community members and balance that with the needs of our businesses and property owners. I am a collaborative leader with a vision for a prosperous tomorrow, and I will listen to and work with all involved, including those with lived or living experience, to find solutions for our community. We need to do better, we can do better, and anything is possible if we work together. I believe ensuring that St. Thomas maintains its enviable quality of life and provides a home for businesses of all sizes to grow, prosper, and create jobs. I will bring the voices of all residents to the table and advocate for solutions that fit our needs. I will help to ensure safe, affordable housing is available for everyone. I want to say a special thank you to everyone who's attended here today to listen to what we have to say, to everyone who's taking the time to reach out to us. It's important. Elections are very important. We all say and want to see change, and we want to do that. We can't do that without the support of you in the room and those at home. So please, on October 24th, get out and vote. Thank you for those that are out supporting me, for dusting off your running shoes again this year to help with my campaign. And I humbly ask for your support and your vote on October 24th. Thank you.
I'm going to take just one more moment to talk about KIN, since I've got you all here. So KIN is the only all-Canadian service club, and we are split out into 3 different levels. We've got national headquarters, which we've all driven by in Cambridge there on the side of the 401. Then we have a district, of which makes up of Southwestern Ontario. We here are known as District 1. We are very privileged tonight to have with us the current sitting vice governors for District 1. And to show how much of a powerhouse St. Thomas is, they are both actually members of the St. Thomas clubs. We have good kin Sean at the back there, who's been providing our audio for us. And good kin Carol of the Elgin St. Thomas Cadets. We also have several of our members, one of which who joined the club well over 20 years ago, Mr. Paul Trittler, and one of which who joined the club during COVID, our Vice President, Jacob. We also have Aaron and our past president, Kevin, here with us tonight as well. Again, thank you very much to the Columbus Club. I have asked everybody behind me to give us until 9 o'clock, so that leaves us another half an hour, 40 minutes for everybody to ask any questions you may have of them, but we'll just do that in an open forum. Hopefully Roy will open the bar again for us here momentarily, and we can just grab a drink and be social. So again, thank you everybody for coming, and make sure on October 24th that you get out and vote. Thank you. Thanks, man.
Nice job. Yeah, you too. Additional 6 minutes and finish. Very honored. I should.